What are you running for? It sounds faster when it's better when it's spoken faster. What are you running for? It's a question I want to ask you, and it's a question I want you to ask yourself. What am I running for? What am I hustling for? Because I use the word running to mean the effort we make to move on in life. Some call it the hustle. Each one of us runs. We do something. There is a running around in our lives. Just take a stand at any busy intersection in a city, and you will see people moving up and down, and sometimes you wonder, where are they going, and what are they trying to achieve? To go on with my message, I want you to remember the legend of the lion and the gazelle that I mentioned last week, and I will repeat it. And it says every morning in Africa, and I suppose in every country where this situation takes place, it may not be a lion and a gazelle, but something similar takes place. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up, knows that it must run faster than the fastest lion or it will be killed. And every morning a lion wakes up, knows that it must run faster than the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. It doesn't matter whether you are a lion or a gazelle, when the sun comes up, you better start running. And that's how our life is. Sun up to sundown, we're running. We're either a lion trying to catch something or a gazelle making sure nobody catches us. But whichever you are, the push factors and the pull factors of life affect us. Last week we looked at 4 kinds of runners. We talked about Hagar, who was running from the consequences of her past. We talked about Jephthah, who was running from rejection. We talked about David, who is running from evil conspiracies. And we talked about Jonah, who is running from responsibility and God's plan for his life. It's important to figure out why you are running in life, and to determine whether the race you are on is leading you in a productive direction or not. And it's important to ask yourself, why am I in so much hurry? Why am I doing all this hard work I'm doing? What am I pushing for? What am I trying to achieve? It's always a blessing to see God use our disadvantages to drive us in life. However, we could also be wrongly driven in different directions. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verse 11, has this to say. And the observer or the writer of Ecclesiastes says, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. Swiftness, speed, is not always an advantage if the timing is wrong and if the opportunity has been misused. So many times we are running, but timing is wrong. And many times we are running, but it is not our turn to run. And that is going to form the basis of my message today, because today we're going to look at 2 kinds of runners. One who runs with a mission, and the other who runs without a mission. The race is not always to the swift. There will be an opportunity that comes that doesn't always favor the most highly qualified. He has a message. He's the man for the hour. There are those who run in life because they have a message and a mission. And then there are those who run in life because they just can't stand still. They need to be seen. And Ahimaaz was like that. He's an action person. He can't stand still. And I want you to listen to Ahimaaz's questions or statements. He says, let me run now. Let me run now. It's a spirit of entitlement. Then he says, whatever happens, let me also run. A spirit of competition. This guy says, the message must be given, and I am going to give the message. Joab said to him, you will not give the message because it is above your pay grade. It is beyond you. Why? Because the king's son is dead. And history shows if you don't have what it takes to carry this message, you get into trouble. So although you have qualified, you will not go. But he says, whether I have a message or not, I will go. There are people like Ahimaaz in our world. Those who run because they just can't accept that some races are not theirs to run. They just feel, I must also be there. They are the wannabes. They want to be in the mix of things. They want to be where the action is. So when something is happening, whether they're supposed to do it or not, they do it. And there are a lot of Ahimaazes in this world running simply because they want to be seen. And then there are those, Ahimaaz also represent those who run because they want to outrun others. Somebody's doing it, they will say, I will beat him. I will do it better. I can be better. And they will tell you, give you their pedigree. I know this guy. When we were in school, I was first, he was last. I come from a rich family, he's from a poor family. I've done this before, he's never done before. I can beat him. The fact that you can beat somebody doesn't mean you are called to the fight. The race is not for the swift, and the battle is also not for the strong. There are those who run because they can't allow others to shine. They always have to spoil it for somebody else. And there are people like that, and I hope you are not one of them. I hope you are not one of those who run because you just can't stand that it's somebody's turn. You just can't stand that somebody you think is inferior to you has got an opportunity you don't have. You just can't stand that somebody you think you are better than has a door open. And if you are an Ahimaaz, you will run without a mission and without a message. Very fast, very talented, but going nowhere. So this is how the race is set up. And Joab, the general of David's army, says, listen, Ahimaaz, we know everything about you, but you're not running. He says, whether you like it or not, I am running. So eventually Joab says, run. It is those kinds of permission when they give you, you don't take it. You are forcing it and you are told, okay, if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. It's going to be a long time, a great effort, but you're going to achieve nothing. So let me ask you a question. Between these two, for the race you are running now, are you an Ahimaaz or a Cushite? Are you running purposefully because you are supposed to run, or you are running because you can't stand the person who is running? You can't stand the person who is winning. You can't stand the person you think you are better than, who seems to be doing well. If he can do 3, I can do 10. If he can do 10, I can do 100. I know him, I'm better than him, I can beat him. And there are many people running races like that. Life is an incessant competition. Even when there is no competition, they will invent one. Somebody buys a shoe, you must buy a better one. Somebody buys a car, you must buy a nicer one. Somebody builds a house, you must get more bedrooms than he has. Your whole race in life is to say, I can't allow the Cushite to run and me stand. There will come a time, and that's what Job is telling Ahimaaz. A time, another message will come and you will be given the opportunity, but this particular one is not for you. May God help you. May God help you not to run because somebody else is running. So let's see the outcome. So there are two people running. If you look at it, when Ahimaaz is told to run, although the Cushite took the lead, Ahimaaz knew the shortcuts of the terrain. He's been doing it all his life. And so he uses a shortcut, he runs faster, and he overtakes the Cushite. So you would think, oh, he has overtaken, and this guy is going to win the prize. Let's see the outcome. Verse 24. Now David was sitting between the two gates, and the watchman went up to the roof over the gate to the wall, lifted up his eyes and looked, and there was a man running alone. Then the watchman cried out and told the king and the king said, if he is alone, there is news in his mouth. And he came rapidly and drew near. Then the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called to the gatekeeper and said, there's another man running alone. The king said, he also brings good news. So two people are bringing news. So the watchman said, I think the running of the first is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king says, he's a good man and comes with good news. So Ahimaaz called out and said to the king, all is well. Then he bowed down with his face to the earth before the king and said, blessed be the Lord your God, who has delivered up the men who raised up their hand against my lord the king. The king said, is the young man Absalom safe? Ahimaaz answered, when Job sent the king's servant and me your servant, I saw a great tumult, but I did not know what it was about. And the king said to him, stand aside, turn aside and stand here. Can you imagine? He says, when we were sent to go, I saw a crowd gathering. I didn't know what it was about, but I wanted to run. It's like those days in Ghana when, we used to line up, queue up for everything. And sometimes you go to a place and people have queued up. And you don't know what the queue is about. You join the line. And then you get to the end and realize that they are selling something you don't need. There are people joining lines and queues and running. And when you ask them, why are you running? He says, I saw the crowd gathering, but I didn't know what it was about. David says, if you run this fast and you had no message, turn aside and stand here. May that never be your portion. That after you have run effectively in life, you are told, stand aside because you carried nothing. You were just competing with somebody. All right. So he turned aside and stood, verse 30, and stood still. Verse 31. Just then the Cushite came, and the Cushite said, there is good news, my lord the king, for the Lord has avenged you this day of all those who rose against you. And the king said to the Cushite, is a young man Absalom safe? So the Cushite answered, may the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise against you to do harm be like that young man. Then the king was deeply moved and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went, he said, oh my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I died in your place. Oh Absalom, my son, my son. I want you to watch what the Cushite is doing. He knows people who have carried these messages in the past get into trouble. So he's asked, what's happening? Is the young man Absalom safe? He didn't say the boy is killed. He didn't say, I saw him with my own two naked eyes. The boy has been killed, because people who give such direct messages to David get into trouble. He said, O king, may it happen to your enemies as it has happened to that boy. And the king got the coded message. He understood the delicateness of the moment, and he gave the right message. The king knew Absalom had died, but death had not been mentioned. And that is why this guy was right for the job. He doesn't have speed, but he has the wisdom for the hour to deliver the right message. When you see somebody running, don't just run after them. They may operate at a wisdom level you don't have. They may not have your certificate, they may not have your degrees, they may not have your pedigree, but for this race, they have something you don't have.
We believe this video was helpful. Kindly share your thoughts with us in the comment section down below. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.